7 Eyewitness News Brief.
Good evening, I'm Bill Beutel. Tonight on Eyewitness News at 11, President Bush admits he's angry at Ross Perot, following reports that Perot conducted secret investigations into the Bush family. We'll have details. And we'll have the latest on the people charged with kidnapping a New Jersey executive with Exxon. Police say the couple was ready to flee the country. Amtrak trains may be grinding to a halt. We'll have the latest on efforts to keep workers from walking tomorrow at midnight. These stories plus temperatures reach record lows. Bill Evans with the AccuWeather forecast tonight at 11 o'clock. I'm Bill Beutel. Tonight on Eyewitness News at 11, President Bush has angry words for Ross Perot, accusing the fellow Texan of being un-American. We'll tell you why. And new reports tonight of a possible clue that may reveal the fate of the missing Exxon executive, and efforts to prevent the strike that might be at Amtrak. Those stories next on Eyewitness News.
America's watching ABC.
Eyewitness News in just a moment. And tonight, President Bush warns Ross Perot, leave my family alone. Tonight, the gloves come off in the race for the White House, and we'll have details. And we'll take you to the Great White Way as Bill Clinton takes the stage with his new plan to tax the rich to save the poor.
And it could be a clue which reveals the fate of an Exxon executive. We'll have the latest twist in the search for Sidney Riso. We'll find out if the nation's largest rail service is still on track for a strike, which could affect thousands of commuters. And how did Tim Leary's alleged dirty pitching affect the Yankees? We'll have those stories. We'll have those stories plus the big chill.
The AccuWeather forecast. All of it's ahead on Eyewitness News at 11.
This is Channel 7 Eyewitness News with Bill Beutel and Susan Roesgen. Scott Clark with sports. Sam Champion with the exclusive AccuWeather forecast and the Eyewitness News team. Now, Eyewitness News.
Good evening, I'm Bill Beutel. President Bush is taking off the gloves tonight, and very suddenly, the race for the White House threatens to become a bare-knuckled brawl, featuring the undeclared candidate with the Texas drawl in one corner and the president in the other. Mr. Bush says Ross Perot's 5-year secret investigation of his personal finances and political activities, and especially of his family, is simply not American.
If he was having my children investigated, that is beyond the pale.
The Washington Post reported yesterday that years ago, Ross Perot ordered several investigations into then Vice President George Bush and his family. At the White House today, the president said the investigations were not particularly American. And he said a lot more to Barbara Walters during a taping for the news magazine 2020, especially about inquiries into his children's lives.
Leave my kids alone, I'd say. They're good, honest boys and a daughter. Now, I'm just saying if that's true. I don't know if it's true, but that is beyond the pale. And I am sick about it if it's true.
Ross Perot has said nothing about the Washington Post story, and he's made no public appearances since it came out yesterday.
And I think the American people will reject that kind of tactic to go around investigating the family of the President of the United States or then Vice President or any other American.
A spokesman for Ross Perot tonight says the White House reaction is, in their words, simply another hysterical attempt to mischaracterize Ross Perot and to create fear of him in the public mind. Susan?
Well, while Perot and the president go after each other, presidential candidate Bill Clinton is going after the wealthy. He's using the T word, talking about taxes. But he's also talking about AIDS and abortion. Doug Johnson reports from Broadway.
Bill Clinton was hosted and toasted by Broadway this evening. Over 2 hours of the best of Broadway shows, plus speeches on AIDS, abortion, and the National Endowment for the Arts. As Clinton began his speech, he was heckled by a group of gay activists protesting the Arkansas sodomy law.
I want to say...
Finally, Clinton was able to speak. He said the president should have one person in charge of fighting AIDS, and he gave his position on abortion.
I'll stick up for Roe v. Wade, and if it's repealed, I'll try to protect the right to choose as much as I can through federal law.
This was a big night for Clinton and a big day, too. In an afternoon speech, he gave some of the details of his economic plan. It included increased taxes on the wealthy, tax credits and cuts for the middle class, increases in corporate taxes, reducing the deficit to $150 billion. He seems to be taking some chances here. What about talking of a tax increase?
So the idea of taxing the richest part of the population is not outrageous. On the other hand, people don't really trust how that tax money is going to be spent.
Following the Broadway show, Clinton came here to a party at the Tavern on the Green. Tonight he was hosted with people he seems to be comfortable with. The fact that if he is his way, many of them will be paying higher taxes raises just one question about his economic plan. But you can say this for Clinton, whether he's making the right decisions, at least he is making some, and right now his campaign is getting a lot of attention. At the Tavern on the Green, Doug Johnson, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
While Clinton talks about saving tax dollars, though, he could use some money himself. His campaign is about $1 million in debt, while Jerry Brown says he has $1 million surplus to blow on parties at the convention.
Another campaign, the campaign against hate crimes, is losing one of its major weapons. The Supreme Court has declared unconstitutional a St. Paul, Minnesota law that bans cross-burning and swastika displays. The court says the ban violates the constitutional right to free speech. This ruling, in turn, cast doubt on similar laws in 46 of the 50 states. The nationwide search continues tonight for the Exxon executive who disappeared almost 2 months ago, and the courts refused to release the couple accused of kidnapping him because there are signs that they're ready to run, ready to flee the country. Jay Scott has this story tonight.
If Arthur Seal knows where Sidney Riso might be, he was not saying as he was hustled into federal court today for a bail hearing. His wife Irene was not talking either. Inside U.S. Magistrates Court, a standing room-only crowd looked on under tight security. Unlike Friday, when Irene Seal smiled and mouthed the words, "I love you," to her husband, the two scarcely made eye contact today and did not appear to speak. U.S. Attorney Michael Chertoff pleaded for no bail for the ex-Hillside cop and former Exxon security officer and his wife. Calling the pair dangerous and a flight risk, Chertoff introduced as evidence a recent passport application and the first page of 2 legal pads of notes said to contain information on banks and exchange rates in Switzerland and Pakistan. Also a book on tax evasion and money laundering. It was enough to convince the magistrate to deny bail.
This is not a time in which we are relaxing. The investigation is continuing at a very aggressive pace.
Something of the size of the Riso investigation was also revealed.
250 agents minimum trying to apprehend the people responsible for this crime.
Reliable sources told Eyewitness News today that traces of bloodstains found in a van allegedly rented to one of the SEALs during the time Riso has been missing were being tested. No word on results of the analysis. Also, sources say the SEAL's teenage son was questioned in Hilton Head, South Carolina, but he is not a suspect. The U.S. Attorney said today it is of vital importance in this case to keep secrecy around the investigation, but he gave no indication whether he thinks Sidney Riso is alive or dead. In Newark, Jay Scott, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
The investigation grows tonight into what could be a new crisis in blue. Reports tonight indicate that Officer Robert Cabreza of New York's 83rd Precinct was put on desk duty Friday after he became a murder suspect. The killing involved took place more than a year ago, but police will not say, I should say, why it took so very long to act.
And tomorrow could be the final act, the last scene for John Gotti. That's when he's sentenced for his conviction on murder and racketeering charges. Today, though, Gotti was a no-show. He remained at the Manhattan Correctional Center while his attorney, William Kunstler, sought a new trial. Kunstler says jurors were coerced into convicting Gotti. The judge will rule on that request tomorrow at the sentencing. And Desiree Washington, the beauty queen Mike Tyson is convicted of raping, is taking the former champ back to court. Washington has hit Tyson with a civil suit stemming from the rape in an Indianapolis hotel last July. Tyson is serving a 6-year prison sentence, but he maintains his innocence, saying that Washington consented to sex with him.
Yankees pitcher Tim Leary claims he is innocent. Leary appeared to have been caught on television last night trying to dispose of what may have been evidence of one of baseball's dirtier tricks. Tim Minton was in Baltimore tonight for a little baseball mixed with a little controversy.
The baseball police didn't get called back to Camden Yards tonight, but league detectives' lineup cards are already full with last night's evidence.
We'll take a look at Leary.
Here's the main exhibit, forwarded by the Orioles late today to American League President Bobby Brown. As umpires converge on the mound, it seems to show Tim Leary eating the proof.
The first ball that came in the dugout last night, one of our players picked it up and there was a scuff on it. And a couple pitches later, another ball came in and happened to be a scuff in the same spot. And being in baseball 25 years, I've seen sandpaper scuffs and I have a pretty good idea what they look like.
Before tonight's ball game, the Yankees mounted a simple 2-part anti-scuffing defense. Number one, there was no cheating. And second, there will be no on-camera interviews to talk about it. But off-camera, manager Buck Showalter added the Yankees need to turn the page from this flap and move on. Catcher Matt Noakes, who was on the receiving end of those allegedly doctored pitches, said the charges are all talk and hype. As for the right-hander himself, tonight Leary had exactly nothing to say.
Bottom line, was Tim Leary cheating?
No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind whatsoever.
And Hall of Fame Oriole pitcher turned announcer Jim Palmer says a half-dozen confiscated, scuffed baseballs speak for themselves.
Doesn't matter who defaced it, but throwing a defaced ball is a crime. And I mean, here was an obvious guy that looked like he was doing something illegal, and we'll see what baseball does about it.
The Yankee pitcher could be suspended for 10 days, and the team's ordered to return for a partial replay of last night's game. Regardless, Leary's the first pitcher to strike himself out on national TV. In Baltimore, Tim Minton, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
The Mets had their own run-in with a pitcher tonight, and it cost them their star. Scott Clark will be along to tell you how the night turned out for them and for the Yankees a bit later on.
But first, trouble is on track for thousands of commuters. The nation's largest train service is rolling toward a shutdown. We'll show you how an Amtrak strike could affect you.
And the place where America shops is trying to make sure it isn't the place where America gets ripped off. We'll show you how Sears is repairing its reputation. And we'll meet some people who have something to shout about. We'll tell you why they're raising their voices later on Eyewitness News.